I start? All right, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. We're so excited to have you all join us for our first general meeting. We had a really great turnout last week for our call-out meeting. So we're really excited to start getting this semester on a roll. So I know that we didn't have all of our returning members come to the call-out meeting, which is totally fine. But for our returning members, we do have a new executive team, and we want you to get to know everyone. So we introduced ourselves last week, but we're gonna reintroduce ourselves this week, just so everyone knows who we are. So you feel comfortable asking us questions, and just so you know who's gonna be chatting with you throughout the semester. So we'll reintroduce ourselves real quick. So my name is Amy. I'm the president this semester, which is really exciting. I'm a senior in the media school. My major is media management, and I'm minoring in marketing. I'm from Florida, and something I like to do in my free time is work for iOS TV.
Hi, I'm Annalise Causey. I'm the vice president, and I am majoring in creative advertising with a minor in studio art. I'm originally from Rochester, Michigan, and in my free time, I do printmaking.
And then I'm Annie Carmody. I'm the director of finance. I'm a senior. I'm studying advertising, media science, and minoring in marketing. And I'm from Oswego, Illinois.
Hi, my name is Alea, and I am majoring in cinema and media arts, concentration in media psychology. I'm from the Southern Indiana, New Albany area, if anyone knows where that's at. And in my free time, I like to hang out with friends and family.
Do you want me to say hi? Hi, everybody. I'm Lesa. I'm the faculty advisor. Glad to be with you.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I'm the director of marketing. I'm originally from Lafayette, Indiana, and my major is creative advertising for media, and then my minor is marketing. And something I like to do on my free time is just take pictures for my Instagram or take pictures of my friends and help them with their content.
Nice, awesome. So that is us, but we also want you all to know each other. So I hinted at this last week, but we are gonna do some fun icebreakers and fun little games in breakout rooms real quick. I hope you guys appreciate the polar bear imagery, because we're gonna break the ice. Okay, so I have everyone in breakout rooms. We're gonna go into those for about 10 minutes. You'll be in there with one person from the executive team, and they've organized a game or icebreaker to play. So it's gonna be really chill. It'll be fun if you guys wanna get to know each other. We try to make them more fun, not just like boring icebreakers. But we'll do that for about 10 minutes, and then we will come back into the main room and we will hear a little bit from Lesa. So I'm gonna send everyone to their rooms and we will get started. All right, everyone. I hope you all had a fun time in your breakout rooms. I know we had a good time in ours. So like I said, we're gonna have our wonderful faculty advisor kind of give you all just kind of like a quick recap of her experience in the industry. And we also wanted to make it a point to make sure you all know Lesa, because she's awesome and she cares so much about this organization, and she's always so available to just like all of us. If you ever like need someone to talk to, if you don't like have a good connection in the media school, Lesa's awesome, and she's just a cool lady. So we wanted you to get to know her a little bit. So Lesa, if you want to pop on and kind of let us all know what you're about, that'd be awesome.
Well, I'm happy to. So I thought a lot about how I was going to do this presentation. I was like trying to think about what should I share with you guys, because you kind of said, talk a little bit about your experience in media and how you got where you are today. And so I thought the best way to do it would be to kind of pick out some key moments in my life that have to do with media and other decisions and sort of crossroads, and explain to you what I kind of learned from those. And I really kind of kind of break it down into key, it may sound silly, but I mean, it really does come down to a lot of things that I still do today. But I kind of found words, just simple words, one word to describe what it was at that moment that I learned and that I kind of did. So I wanted, I'm sure a lot of you, I wouldn't be surprised because a lot of media people have this kind of background. So when I was in high school, I did a lot of theater and music, and I thought that I was going to continue with that. I really did. I thought I was going to be in New York, and I thought that's what I'm going to do. But so I had a scholarship in music when I was going to go to school. But I got somebody somewhere, I don't know if it was a play or something, heard me and said, have you ever considered media? Have you ever thought about doing radio or doing broadcast? I said, no, I have not. I didn't do it when I was in high school. Like I said, I was doing other things. And they said, well, maybe you should consider, working at the local radio station. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I did. I was still a senior in high school. I just turned 18. And I went to, we had a local radio station that was it was country and adult contemporary. So there were 2 stations. And I thought, I would like to work for you. And they hired me. And so I started working first as a disc jockey. And then it wasn't very long before I started doing news. So when I was, right during the summer, I started as the assistant news director. And it was the best experience. I was covering, police jury, city council, trials. I mean, everything as a, 18-year-old. But the problem was I fell in love with media and I fell in love with broadcasting, but I had a full scholarship to go to music. So I'd been thinking in my brain that this wasn't going to work. And so the thing that I started thinking here was pivot, that I was going to pivot because my dad had said to me that sometimes it's easier to figure out what you don't want to do. It's a lot easier than to figure out what it is that you do want to do. So I remember calling him from, I don't know if I was at the station or something, and I was really kind of in tears because I was about to tell him that I didn't want to go into music, that I wanted to go into broadcasting. And I remember him, so I'm kind of like, I'm going to give up all of this and I'm going to go. And he was he said, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you should do. And he goes, we'll help you and you'll figure it out. And so I switched right before I started and I switched to broadcast journalism. And so for the next 5 years, I worked in, and it was 5 years, I worked in probably for like 35 hours to 40 hours a week at the radio station doing news and doing all of that. And I just loved it. It was a great experience. When I graduated, I went to a larger market, and it was a television station and radio station, and did work that way. But I'd been in there for a while, and one of the things that I had figured out that I really, so that was my pivot thing, that you've got to pivot. So one of the things that I figured out that I really liked was psychology. And so I'd taken courses. I don't know if I have any psychology folks here, and that had come about by my interest in serial killers, which we will not go into right now. But anyway, abnormal psych was my kind of thing. But I was starting to develop this interest in why people did the things that they did. And that was even in broadcast when you're, covering stories about people and learning things. And what I really didn't know that it was media effects. I was really kind of interested in psychological behavior. So after I had been doing broadcast for a while after I graduated, I decided that I wanted to go back to school and get my master's basically in educational psychology and counseling. And that's what I did. And that was, I don't remember how many years, a few years after I had graduated with my undergraduate degree in broadcast journalism. So I did that, and I became a counselor after I got my degree. And I worked in a program it was on a grant, helping single parents go to school, figure out how they were going to go to school. And it was a lot of women, single parents, lower socioeconomic, and dealing with a lot of issues. And it was really one of the best experiences that I really ever had. And one of the things that I learned through my counseling and in working with people was active listening. And how many of you have heard that? Can I see people talk about listening, how important listening is in journalism and active listening? And it was, but it really was one of the best. I learned so much from working with people and, you know, doing my best to help people and really help people in a positive way of going back to school. But so we go along here and, you know, I'm living life. I was in a really, really bad car accident. And the car accident left me in a position where doctors kind of thought that I would not work again. They didn't think that I was going to be able to go back and ever work. And I thought, well, you know, I'm really like 20s. I'm thinking that is not acceptable to me. That is not acceptable. So it took me some time to kind of figure out perseverance, to figure out who could help me get well enough that I could go back to work. So I found, believe it or not, this married couple, doctor and physical therapist, who worked with me and actually got me back to where I could go back to work. And it really had changed my life, because at that time I kind of thought that the psychology and working, that might be a different path, that if I were going to go back to school, it might be, you know, along that path. But when I got well enough to go back to work, I kind of figured out, well, what am I going to do? I don't know. I haven't been working for a while. So the opportunity to go back into broadcasting came along, and I went to work in television again. And I anchored, was general reporter, started doing health communication, my area of research, and just loved being back into that field again. And, you know, covering the same things. I mean, it's fascinating. And, you know, one of the stories that I'll always remember is I had done a story about mammograms, and actually had gone in to have one. Actually, Alan was the one who shot that. So that's lucky that he was the one that did the video. If you guys don't know, Alan's my husband. That's how we met, actually, at that television station. So, but it was through that, doing that story on mammograms and breast cancer. I was out one day, and this lady came up to me and said that story had changed her life, that she had watched that story, and she had actually gone and had a mammogram, and they found something, and it was, you know, meant so much to her. And I really understood the power of media at that point, and how much, you know, we could really influence people and in a positive way. So stayed doing that for a while, but I'm an academic brat, and I had always thought that in the end I was going to end up back in education. So this nonlinear path that I was on ended up being that at that time I decided to go back and get my PhD. And I went to Louisiana State University and got a degree in media and public affairs, and brought together psychology, media effects, broadcast, health communication. So then I finished that up, and Indiana was the first interview. Actually, that's not true. There were a couple, but it was one of the first, and I accepted a position and came here. And that was in 2006. And then, with my listening and all of this good stuff, I had the chance to become the interim dean of the School of Journalism when we still had the School of Journalism, and the associate dean for the media school. And after listening to students and kind of figuring out what it was that they wanted, listening to where they, you know, thought we should be, I became one of the creators of the media school. And the same thing is true for some of the stuff that I'm doing now. I wouldn't have done fashion and beauty and lifestyle reporting if it hadn't been for listening to what students were doing and finding out what they wanted. And so I think, you know, it's just my life may not resemble, you know, you may not hear anything that's you know, similar to your experiences, but I mean, one of the things that I think you have to always remember is, you know, we come to crossroads and things may not turn out the way that you expected them to turn out, but that doesn't mean that it's not positive, and that you really do have to kind of observe, listen, be ready to pivot, especially these days, you know, and that's it. You know, that's where I am. Do we have any questions or comments, you guys? Anything? Any experiences you want to share?
I
No?
liked how, well, I was really interested in how you were talking about how you, I don't remember what you said you had your undergraduate degree, but then you switched to psychology after. That was really appealing to me because it's like I love psychology a lot, but it's not my major right now. Well, I'm working for like a certificate in business psychology because they offer that here, but like that's not my main major, but I like love it and I want it to be like a part of my future somehow. So like how you incorporated that in your future with like everything else you were doing, I find really fascinating.
Well, I think it's with people in media. I mean, I don't know if all of you kind of feel this. The thing I loved about media is you can have so many different interests. That's one of the things that's great about it is that I think it's good for people that like to explore, they want to learn more. And it's one of the things, not to go all, lecture or professor on you guys, but when you're taking these classes, like if you get theory, media effects, when you're taking visual communication, I mean, all of those sorts of things, I always tell students, they may not seem like they're relevant for you, but they really are, because if you listen and observe and take that stuff in, it's always helpful when you're going to tell stories. And you never know where, like me, like broadcast journalism to psychology back to media, that psychology background is what helps me with my research, because I study the psychological effects of, and help with policy and trying to, get people to be healthier, So, I mean, these things are so, you just, you never know. And taking the opportunity to learn as much as you can, to have experiences. I mean, I wouldn't trade that broadcast experience when I was in college, the chance to get to cover so many different issues and to write and do so much work was so important, because it really helped me, I think. And then of course, being a counselor and being able to listen and really, have that too is just helped me with interviewing when I was doing that later. So it's so important, to take advantage of those things, and I mean, take advantage in a real genuine way of exploring and learning from those experiences. And you can combine these things too, guys. I mean, that's one of the reasons we like the media school, is because you can kind of take from so many things and combine them to create a really well-rounded kind of experience.
Yeah, I agree, Lisa. Like my major's media, but I recently added like a psychology minor because I also have like so many interests. Like I can't choose or anything. And I also think it's like important to like understand psychology because so much of media is storytelling about people. So I really think that like it's good to study media, but like also exploring like other subjects can really like enrich like storytelling.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're so like telling stories is the most, there's nothing that, I mean, I try to think of other careers where storytelling is not important. It doesn't matter what you do. Storytelling is such an important, we have alumni say that to us all the time, and people out in industry, that they need people who can tell stories. Having the ability to connect to people and tell stories, it's so important. So yeah.
I have a question. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you transitioned from like the high school radio station to college and even like professional wise, what advice do you have to give when you're like trying to break out into a new like realm of like your experience that you're not used to, like keep on going to like the next like bigger thing? Like, was it intimidating? Like, how did you like ground yourself as like in the new position you were in? If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. I'm still terrified and get, like when I was preparing this, I still get nervous when I'm doing this kind of stuff. I just learned how to hide it pretty well, and kind of, and practice and breathe. And I think you just have to take, one thing you need to do is, I say that like I know, but I mean, as much experience as you can get. I mean, as much experience as you can get, whether it is through IUSTV, whether it is through other, media organizations on campus, the more that you have experience-wise, the more that you have, that you can show people that you have done. I mean, that is just, you're just wrapping it up. You're just getting more layers and more layers and more layers. And you keep all of that, you keep improving and you keep improving. And it's always scary to me. I mean, some of you may be so bold and brave that you're not frightened, but I mean, it's always, taking risk and taking that next step. It's going to be, it is kind of scary, but you just, you have to just be a risk taker. And it's kind of that thing where you've prepared that your skill level and that you've prepared so much that you're going to fall back into that. And that, and also you don't have to act like you know everything. As you just don't have to know everything. So, this is what I know, this is what I'm sharing with you, and I'm ready to learn more. And I mean, I learn something every single day. This is, learning about, you guys, I'll tell you, you know how I studied to do online teaching? You're going to laugh at this. Besides everything that they were teaching us with online, I studied YouTube. I started watching how people were communicating on YouTube. I watched TikTok. I watched all of the ways that I saw how people were, communicating. And then I took what I learned from online and what I knew as a professor and brought it into this, because I'm thinking, how can I connect with all of you? What is the way that I could do, to do it? So it's going to be scary. But after a while, you start doing it more and more, and it's less so. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay, does it make sense? Yeah. And also develop a network of people who are going to help you and look at things and will be honest with you. And you're already seeing that I'm somebody too that you can count on, but other people that will look at your stuff and help you in a constructive way, that they're just wanting you to get better. And they'll help you too with networking.
Lisa, I had a question. Do you have any suggestions because some of the areas that you have experience in are male-dominated fields? Do you have any advice on women embarking on male-dominated fields?
We just have to keep doing it. Just keep going and going and going. And here's the thing that I've been around for a long time. So I've been in these fields when I was used to being the only woman in newsrooms, and I've been around for a while. There are other places we could talk about too, like higher ed, which is one of the places that if you look at who are the leaders at the really upper levels, you should take a look to see if, how many women as undergraduates attend this school and leadership, but that's a different story. But anyway, so the thing that, if I can say this in a way that makes sense, women are already strong and intelligent and powerful, and they can bring that to the table. What women don't have to feel like they need to do is be men when they're doing things. Does that make sense? Do you understand? I mean, there are other things that women bring to the table that we're, as women, I've always thought that we're only equal when we can be ourselves and come to the table and bring our strength and who we are. And that goes across the board for anybody. It doesn't matter. I hope that makes sense. And so when you are going into these fields, it doesn't help if you don't go as yourself and bring your voice in as who you are. And that's what that's what I recommend with this. And that you just have to keep pushing, and you keep pushing as yourself, And the media school, I have to say, is an example of that in terms of people talking about coming together and breaking down barriers and allowing students to be able to do more, over here and over that, and multiple voices being involved in how we could do that. And we need more. We need more. And I'll just say, if women rule the world, right? Does that make sense? You guys understand what,
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else want to share their thoughts on that? I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, Lisa, I'll ask you a question. I feel like, I mean, yeah, like since you came up in the industry when it was really dominated by men, I feel like, did you ever have like a mentor or like someone that you like came across at like whatever point in your career that like really was just like a mentor for you and kind of helped you just feel really comfortable, whether that was like a man or a woman? Because I feel like for me, when I'm like in class or in an organization or like at an internship, like I feel like I'm always my like most comfortable and my like best self when I have someone like a mentor, someone to look up to who like can give me insight a little bit and just make me feel more comfortable. So did you ever have someone like that?
I did. And I was an undergraduate, and he was a news director at a larger market where I did an internship. And he was just so good. And he was just constructive about my writing, and just so positive in what I was bringing to the table. And it was really good to have somebody like that. And, and I had heard him talk about me to other people when he didn't know I was listening. And it was just such a just business professional, this is a good reporter. She's going to be a great reporter. You need to hire her because she knows what she's doing, that kind of. And then also would sit with me when I had written stuff and go through it and say, if you had done this, this would be, think about this as a lead, that sort of, person that was just, yeah, I did. And he'd been in the business for a long time and seen a lot, and was just, really, and somebody I kept in touch with for years. Yeah. And then Jessica Savage, I don't know if you guys remember or know of Jessica Savage. She died years ago, but she'd written a book, and I remember when you guys have to understand first that my father was a Methodist minister who then became an English professor. So all my life, I did not receive any sort of discipline other than long lectures. And they were lectures filled with examples of things from the New Testament and the Old Testament and Shakespeare and all kinds of literature. So, if things were going on in my life where I needed, my father would talk to me, my mother would talk to me, and then they would give me a book. So I always got books. It's like, here's something to read. And my dad would always say, it's an easy read, Lisa. It's an easy read. So, and so he gave me, when he realized that I was going to go into broadcast, he started giving me like Dan Rather's book and Jessica Savage's book and all these things for me to read. And so I had those two that I was educated in the field. Which I still think. I've got letters too. He would also write these long letters too. Do any of you have family that will do that to you? Do you get lectures or, get letters or anything like that? I've collected these letters because they're very thoughtful and they're prized possessions to have them now. So, so that's my family. I didn't know you could take a vacation for fun until I was like 18 years old. All of ours were history. Do you guys, have any of you know that? We always went to all these historical sites and all of this. That was my whole thing. It was just, growing up that way. It's like, where's the beach? That's Max. Anything else? Do you guys want to share stories? Does anybody want to talk about something? No?
Lisa.
Yes.
So I know you said that you would read books kind of during these times of questioning or whatever, and you like switched around a lot. So I'm just curious how you dealt with self-doubt if you had it. Like, I feel like you kind of breezed past these like monumental decisions, and a lot of us probably will have to go through that. So do you have any advice for that?
Oh no, lots of doubts, guys. Don't take it that way. Yes. I mean, counseling helped me a lot with that because I developed, coping. I studied that. It was probably the reason I was interested in studying it too, of just learning about behavior. It's hard. It's hard. And you have to, and no one answer I can give you is going to work for everybody here. But coping is a big deal of being able to, I think you have to recognize when something is deeper than just, that's what I say, when you're into something that may be where you need help, and you should never be afraid to go get help if you need help. You should never be afraid to ask help. Say that to all of you. I mean, we are living in unprecedented times right now, and you should never be afraid to reach out to someone. I just think that if you can think through and recognize what it is, and you can really start to think in a way that's balanced about doubt, when it's really something that you have control over, or if it's something you don't have control over. Does that make sense? Because I mean, you can, if you're beating yourself up over things that just are not realistic, then that is not something that's going to help you. And so you do have to, look at things and realize, okay, I'm doubtful in this situation. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to change this. How am I going to, to manage this? And you think about, and you break it down into realistic ways of dealing with something. It's the same way with being motivated. Don't overwhelm yourself with things. You have to really break it down into concrete steps of doing things, and really break things down into thinking about what can you control and what is out of your control. Now, I'm not saying that we can't, as a society, take on big problems, because we've got big problems to take on. But what I mean personally is that you do have to be realistic. And I know that can be difficult when you're trying to be positive at the same time. And that's why, too, I think it's really important you've got to find things that you love in your life and that you enjoy and that you're passionate about, and turn to those, because it's really easy to go and not to get lost maybe in some of the other things, if that makes sense. So you've got to find stuff that you're passionate about, and whether it's a hobby, whatever it is, taking care of yourself. And this is going to be, I don't know, this may not be the case for all of you. You've also got to be careful about whose opinion you care about. And you've got to look at that person and think, is this someone who is worthy of me thinking that their opinion matters? Because I think when I was younger, I spent a lot of time worrying about what other people thought, and it just didn't matter it didn't matter in the end, and I didn't focus as much on, people who really mattered the most. And I know, and that's really easy to say, of saying, don't care so much about what people think, but it's not, it's just realizing that you've got to be careful about that and what you let in, And I also tried to always think that you need to take care of yourself from the inside out. Does that make sense? You guys know what I'm saying with that? Take care of from the inside out, because that's the thing that matters. And that's all of this other stuff of being, taking care of yourself and not worrying so much about the external, worrying about the internal. Did that help at all?
Yeah, that was
okay. Good. Okay. It was long-winded. I don't know if it was helpful, but it was certainly long-winded. Is my counselor side showing? I feel like you're all my children. Just in this, just want to take you. You're facing such, what times we're in right now, in the industry. Wow. But there's so many formats now to be able to share a story. That's the other thing that's so exciting, though, is that there's so many ways to share stories and to have influence. And I think that it is all of you who will make the changes that this universe needs. I really think that that's going to happen. I see that happening, and it's the joy for me to be able to connect with all of you and talk to you and listen to you about, what you need to be, the best that you can be. I really think that you're going to make the difference. Really do. Alan does too. We do.
Awesome, Lisa. That was great. Thank you so much for speaking about your history and your experience in the industry. You're always so lovely to talk to. You always give the best advice. So thanks so much for doing
Thank
this
you
for
for
our
having me.
meeting. This was awesome. And yeah, I hope everyone kind of got a feel for how awesome Lesa is. And she's just like the most fun and the most helpful person ever. So she's here. She's our faculty advisor. She's awesome. So I'm glad everyone got to hear from her a little bit.
And we can Zoom if you guys ever need, you've got my email address. If you need anything, let me know. I know you've got a great exec team. If you need somebody, I'm here. All of you.
So we will wrap up. We just have a couple more slides. Oh, we did questions. Awesome. So our next meeting is going to be next Thursday, the 24th on Zoom, 7 p.m., same time as usual. And we have a guest speaker, so that'll be awesome. Someone from the Indianapolis Business Journal. Her name is Lindsay. She's really, really cool. So she's going to be coming and doing a guest talk, which will be fun. The way those kind of go is that we'll kind of ask her some questions. We'll have some questions planned, kind of like a little Q&A. And then at the end, we will open it up to questions from all our members. That'd be awesome. So she does journalism. She's a reporter. She reports a lot on business and politics. So I know a lot of people are interested in journalism and reporting. So that'd be awesome for all of you who are interested in that. And then even if you're not interested in journalism, if you're interested in production, advertising, it's always great to hear from different women in the media. So yeah, we're looking forward to that next week.
He's also an IU alum, by the way.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, we love Hoosiers too. So that's great. So we have the Zoom link in the GroupMe. And speaking of GroupMe, feel free to use this QR code to join our GroupMe if you haven't already. That is where we give like quicker updates for things. And it's also just a fun way too. If like, I know when I like stumble upon like a cool show or a cool woman or a cool experience or resource, like I like to just shoot it into the GroupMe in case anybody else wants it. So the GroupMe is a cool thing to be a part of. And yeah, the Zoom link is in the GroupMe. So you always have like one place where you can find it. So definitely join the GroupMe for up-to-date information. And yeah, that is going to be it for today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, unmute yourself and just ask real quick. But other than that, thanks for a great meeting. This was awesome. I hope everyone enjoyed their icebreakers in their breakout room and hearing from Lesa. But yeah, it was a super fun meeting. And if no one has any questions, we will see you next Thursday.